Well, I could say good morning, but it's not now. It's gone past midday here. So it's just a hello, really. Um, so let's pick do another video. I've got some new rings. Look at the green one. That's a Roman one. And, well, it's promising. Promising so far. You can see it really. Can't be messing around too much when I'm driving. So it's a Roman ring of Leo. So it's got a line on it. It's got a little star on it. And judging by the colour, it's probably bronze. And the plan is for me, so the reason is I've showed it in the video, is because I might take a picture of it as well. It's because I plan to clean it up and polish it up and get it back to whatever coloration it was before. Because there's a lot of old artifacts and old things, and you're not too sure exactly how old they are. I mean, it could be 20 years old and just left outside, and it's aged it quickly. Yeah, because usually about 20 to 40 years you can probably age it quite a bit. And the other thing they can tell is by how it's aged, whether it was outside or wherever it was. And this also brings me on to my next subject, which will be talking about fasting. So it's lovely and sunny at the moment. Now this is one of the key factors. It's probably been overlooked with food, is the light. So you do your fasting cycle, but when the light's out, that's a good time to eat. When you basically want to eat in the times of light, because it stimulates your hormones and it stimulates your metabolism and it affects your pineal. Now, if you're in a place where it's winter and it's all dark, then really, I mean, possibly you want to fast definitely during the periods of darkness, but ideally get yourself do a bit of sun gazing. So the sun's out. Just have your eyes closed though. Don't worry, I'm not going to drive around with my eyes closed. Just for example, and just get yourself a bit of charged up with the light, because then that stimulates your hormones. Feel good. You've got to think what mirrors it. If you don't get enough light, it makes you depressed, right? If you don't get enough food, you get depressed. It's the same thing, because the other thing that light causes is your body starts producing vitamin D. So it must kick a metabolic response in your body for your body to start processing things via your skin. So it's quite a key factor for weight loss. If you're deprived of light, you can put on loads of weight. And equally, if you're trying to lose weight, a load of light's pretty good for you. Carry on. I was thinking I might as well carry on recording. It's just that I'm stuck in traffic. So yeah, light and food play a massive role. It's also a charged food up, and also the food's metabolism. Like I put fruit in the sunlight, so if you get it from a cold storage, the same with meat as well. It relaxes meat if you leave it out, doesn't it? Just thinking of, they say meat tastes better at room temperature and out in the light, because it may be dead, but it still has mitochondrial DNA inside it, and they might have not completely died yet. They're still active themselves. They're still trying to maintain themselves with a little bit of autophagy going on inside that cell. They call it apoptosis or something, where they basically reuses the cell. But to be honest, there's such a fine line between the two. One is forced, one isn't. So when you're damaged to your skin and body, then it will cannibalise itself and replace the flesh, while the other one's more about the recycling, and the autophagy is eating to replace or reusing it. So cells cannibalise each other because they clone themselves as well, so they just use their clone as spare parts when it all goes wrong. Maybe not, that's just a bit of theoreticals. So yeah, for me, I mean, over the winter time I put on about half a stone, and that was because I changed my diet. I was eating more, and I was also eating people's food. I didn't waste food in the winter. It's part of my cultural beliefs. I waste not, want not. I grew up in an environment where it wasn't. I was one of 5 siblings, so you didn't waste food, and my parents, well, the parents worked hard to keep us going and surviving, and went through different times when we existed in a time when there weren't no benefits. There wasn't no family tax credit and child tax. So my mum just worked very long hours, and that's what kept us going. So was raised to say, right, here's your food. You know, I didn't work all day, so you can throw it in the bin, eat it, and then you stay there and eat it. So I'm not really into a culture of I can just buy another bit of food. It doesn't matter. The problem is if it's junk food, I just say to myself, hey, it's junk. Because I had someone give me something, and also judge people upon what they give you. If they're obese and they've got health problems and they're giving you things like, you know, loads of processed food, junk food, poor nutritional food, then you might have to consider whether you need that or not in your diet. So, for instance, I've got some intolerance to sort of bread and stuff, and someone gave me these kind of iced buns, but I might feed them to the ducks. I'm gonna take my client and feed them to the ducks. So yeah. So going back to my weight gain, some of it might be muscle because I went carnivore. I was eating loads of protein, and I need to balance it out. So I might have to reduce my portion sizes. I found eating things like a steak that really gets you full up. You get satiated pretty quickly off of eating a steak. Why is that? Oh, it's a maintenance guy. I think he's driving against the traffic. So yeah, so the main thing is sunlight. Using the sunlight hours to benefit your health, and during the times of darkness, not to. And there's other animals. You think about a lion, it has a massive meal, and then it bugger off and sunbathes in the daytime, and then because it does early morning scouting and eating. Other things to be aware of: if you're waking up earlier and you're doing OMAD and you're fasting, yes, you're pushing for metabolic changes. So your body's more resourceful with food, but you're waking up earlier because your body wants you to hunt and get food earlier. It's basically wearing down your resources. So weight loss, brilliant, but if you want a maintenance, you might have to be a bit more careful with that one, because you may drop underweight slightly or be burning. You're basically calorie deficit is so high that your body's going to be quite sensitive to putting back weight in different ways. However, it's not without a intelligence behind it. You may be able to boost your muscle mass, which is why when you change your diet around food and you eat more protein and high quality foods, that's a good time to do exercise to build muscle, because the metabolism of the muscle will use the food and you'll build it as a resource for tapping in your energy. The other thing with sunlight is that you don't need to show your pineal. If sunlight comes in contact with your skin, it will wake up anyway. Your organs wake up. I found in the hours of darkness I've been waking up before my alarms have been going off. So I'm aware the sun should be there, but it's not, or it's just rising. I don't know. It could even be an electromagnetic thing as well. So I'm waking up and I'm kind of, my body's saying, well, it's still dark, but it is time. You should be getting up around now. And I'm driving around in the morning with my headlights on because it's still bloody dark at around 7:30. And so this kind of thing, I feel better now the sun's on me. I might have to think about the lighting inside my property. If you don't have the UV light, you may not benefit health-wise. Also, things like red lights might be good in places like a bathroom. Like you get up in the middle of the night and sitting on a toilet for whatever reason, or even in your bedroom having the option of having like a red lamp, so that when you wake up and you turn that on, it's better than, you know, like using a mobile phone to wake yourself up, or turning on your main lights and finding that starting to wake you up or affect your rhythms. I do things like turn Wi-Fi off at night, but however there's loads of Wi-Fi around anyway, so it's a bit of a pain. That's why having plants and things, they're going to absorb that. This is why the issues with this 5G network stuff. You know, having less trees and plants means you can send these sort of high frequency signals better. The carbon in the trees is causing issues. And learn a lot from nature. That's the main thing. And there's a thing also with people in their diets. Now I consider plants and animals equal. So if somebody turned around and says, well, you're murdering, animals by eating meat, I could say it's murder to plants as well. And it's one of the sad realities of existing. I have to replace something that already exists. The difference is there's a more ethical way. So if you eat the eggs and the cheese, like a products made from animals, but not the actual animal, then the animal exists, and therefore it's more ethical. It's a different approach. In the same way of plants, if you're growing a plant and you're chopping the whole plant down, or eating it, there's nothing left from it, then it's less ethical. You've killed the whole plant just to consume it. Some plants have that benefit anyway. They've been designed a bit like that anyway. While other plants produce food for you to eat, and then there's also toxic elements. That's why plants have things in them so that if you ate too much of them, they wouldn't have a health benefit to it. Depends on the chemical balance. Some plants are poisonous to some animals, and for humans it has no effect. But the fact it's got a toxin in there means there might be a tolerance in the human, like say raisins. Raisins are poisonous to dogs. So how many raisins could a human eat before it becomes toxic to a human? Some people can't drink much wine, to be honest, and that's probably one of the realities, is they've got less tolerance. So being aware of things that are potentially harmful to animals, a bit like peanuts, some people can eat loads of them, some people eat a few of them, and even less than a few of them, it's lethal. So it's good. It must have a biotoxin in it. That's there anyway. It's just how your body responds to it, your immune system responds to it. And it's for the preservation of that being. And the same way as in the animal kingdom, there's animals that produce toxins in their body, or other things. Like this is why people shit themselves when they're in a situation where they're going to die or something. They're making themselves the most unattractive food possible. And this is why some creatures produce these like skunks and things and other things. It's a part of a preservation response. So so that's interesting. Just interesting. I know that with the red light treatment, I have to have a look at the frequency. There may be some ways to use laser pens as well for healing. If I got one of these, they usually call them like pointers. You can adjust them so they become more, so they could burn basically, slightly. But if you use that as, but they do this, what do they call it? Monoxin. Basically, it's a Chinese medicine they use fire that basically has to heal. So they kind of like putting out a cigarette on you, and they use that to purge toxins using elements. So it goes back to more pagan type healing in that sense of using nature. Like we use water to cleanse and fire cleanses and other things, or earth is used for skin and so on. So these things are of value. But you could use the infrared for pressure points, a point marker, or areas where you want to stimulate metabolism. Equally, there's probably different types of light would have different health benefits. So I have to have a look at that. And that comes back to colour association with the organs and other things, frequency. So yeah, that's why. Or there's different ways to get that light into you, stimulate things. You stimulate your eyes, healing in your eyes if you've got problems with your eye. If you don't want it, obviously, to have it so it burns, there was a way you could kind of fuse the resistor, and it would mean the output of it was slightly higher. I saw this experiment where basically a certain pen could blow up a balloon and a frequency wouldn't, and he made the adjustment, and so when he aimed at the balloon burst. But equally could weaponise that at some level. So, but for a medical, you could use say a light pen for the eye in some way. I'd have to do the research on that. You can't just go stick a light in your eye. But then again, if it's uncomfortable, you certainly react. It's no different than some of these high definition monitors And if they're using a UV spectrum in your eye, they're causing eye strain. If it feels good, then it probably is good. That's the way to look at it. So yeah, light and fasting, I'll see how that goes. So when it's dark, I don't eat. In the morning, I try to get charged up with sunlight. Midday, my metabolism should be its highest, but that depends if I've had an exposure to outdoor light. If you're stuck in an office in a dark room, then your body knows the pattern. So you've got this circadian rhythm in your body, but it's not being stimulated by light itself. So when if you're going to go on a break, go out in the sun. You know, get yourself a shot of sunlight for a short period of time. Like I say, you can just face the sun with your eyes closed for a bit, and then get that benefit of the pineal. So a little bit of sun worship's not a problem. And I have to look at the esoteric stuff as well. The stuff about Jesus, the Son of God, so the sun, and then there's something about the point value of the sun and in relation to God. I saw this is esoteric stuff is pretty awesome. And then there was Egyptian stuff that I was going to do some research into. So it might as well have been culture. But it'd be fun to clean this ring up. I may stick some little diamonds in it. Get diamond dust. It's like £20 a bag. But you want to make sure it's not bloody powdered glass. And then you could just basically with resin you could put it into the grooves. And with my Egyptian head, that's good enough, I think. There's a bit of art actually. There we go. With my Egyptian head, I might send a picture, or my other artefacts, send a picture to the museum, British Museum. I just want some, you know, just to clarify it, and then tell them the background history. You might find here you've got something older, more valuable than I realised. Anyway, this is a sign off. Have a great one, and I will speak to you soon.